Hey there Titans, in this video I'll show you how to export your Titan project and move it around between your accounts. Alright, so let's take a look here. So this is a web project and I hit the kebab and I'll click on the export, and now I see three options to export the project. The first way is related accounts. What is a related account? It's any account that your user is a power user in that account. So my specific account is related to many accounts. All I gotta do is select it and then I can export it. Notice the remove existing. What this will do is if you have an existing project, the same project on the other account, and let's say you want to replace it with the current version, you hit the remove existing, you export, and specifically with web project, you'll have to go and publish it. So after it was exported, you need to go to the production environment and publish it there as well, so all the changes will take effect. The second option is using a pin. Using a pin is you don't have to be a power user on the other account. All you got to do is get a pin from the other account, have that pin number, put it here, you hit the export, and it will send it to that account. And how do you get a pin? You head over to settings, account settings, generate a pin, and there it is. You copy it, you take it to the account you want to export from, you put the destination pin in there, and it will export the project. All right, so let's explore our third export option, and this one is download. Now notice here you get a few options, pretty much self-explanatory. Include project URL. Whenever you import it, it will bring the project URL with it. Same goes for the project name. Project ID is you don't need it. Super important if you're working with custom domains. Then you want to include the project ID, otherwise you don't need to include it. And the way for you to work with this is you download, you get your project, and then you head over here, import project, and you select the zip, and that's all there is to it. Alright, so that was, and we will do a little demonstration in a second. That was options for a web project. If I'll take, for instance, a Titan Docs project. Titan Docs project contains a word mapping within it. And with that, you could generate the docs from Salesforce, run it from literally anywhere. So whenever we work with document project, you will see another option. So let me just pull this one up again, and I'll hit export. I'll hit export, and now you will see replace only docgen template. And this is a very, very cool feature. What this will do is not replace the entire project, not replace any changes. It will not export any of the changes that you've made on the form itself. It will only change the template in the destination form. So I'll select, let's say, my account, and the same goes for the pin. Works the same way. So I'll select an account, and now I can say target form. I'll hit export, and it will replace the template only and not replace the entire project. If I'll not select this and I'll say remove existing, it will take all the changes I've made on the entire project, not specifically just the template, and will replace everything. All right, so let's talk a little bit about do's and don'ts. A few things you have to consider whenever you're working with a staging environment, sandbox environment, or production environment. So whenever you're working with a sandbox, you want to make sure that you don't have any static values. And if you do, sometimes you do need them. Static hard-coded parameters, iframes, redirect URLs that are static. If you have a payment integration and in your staging environment you're working with test keys, for instance, Stripe, you'll have a test environment keys for the terminal. Whenever you move it to production, you want to make sure you go to the production form and you check the parameters, any static parameters, any redirects, any, obviously the terminal, you want to make sure you have live keys. And if you have a docgen template with org-wide email addresses, you want to go there and make sure that you change them, you reinsert them, because the org-wide addresses are different, the IDs are different from within the sandbox and the production environment in Salesforce. So you want to make sure you go to your docgen template and you change those org-wide addresses. And the same goes for record types. Anything that's static, you want to make sure you change it whenever you move it to production. So let's say if I had a static variable here, And hypothetically, this is my staging environment, and I'll say this is an ID. Let's say it's some record type ID, and it will be this. And this is true for sandbox, for production. Depending on your sandbox in Salesforce, for production, it will be different, or anything static that you use in Salesforce mapping. And you redirect, if you're redirecting anywhere, let's say if you had a redirect here, and you put a static value in the URL, you want to make sure that it's correct for the production as well. Another thing to think about is when you're calling other projects. So let's say if you're redirecting to a different project, you want to make sure that you're moving the other project as well, at least for the first time. And same goes for whenever you're invoking flows. So if you're calling a flow, you want to make sure that you move that flow together with that project, and you want to make sure you come back here and you reselect this, the correct flow, after you have moved the project into your next environment. All right, so let's take a look here at a Titan doc project. Okay, so if I'll head over to my document generation, and here under emails, the emails under the Salesforce button, and I'll take a look at the edit and send email, you can see that I have some org-wide addresses that I can send from. So if I would move this project to a different environment, even though it's the same sandbox in Salesforce, you would have the same org-wide email addresses as the production, you still want to come back here and you want to reload them, because what will happen here is that the IDs of the org-wide email addresses are different. And same goes for template. So if you choose a dynamic template, like a default one, you want to come back here and you want to reselect them, because the IDs of the templates, the email templates in your sandbox, are different from your production. And this is exactly why whenever you're working with a doc gen project, it's always best, if you just made some changes to the template, it's always best to export template only and use that option. It's really great. Let's talk about Titan sign exporting. So whenever I'm working with a doc, say I'll take this one and I'll export it elsewhere. And let's say I have a flow within Salesforce that uses this Titan sign. What will happen is you will always get, whenever you export, you will always get a different hash. And whenever you're working with a flow from Salesforce to invoke Titan and send the Titan sign, you need to use that FT form hash. Just keep in mind that every time you export, this hash changes. So after you put it in production, you want to go to production and grab the new hash and put it in the flow in Salesforce accordingly. And this is how it's done.